morning. Here we are, it's the 1st of June. This is the first morning of our adventure in Normandy, and I'm going to let Joe explain to you where we are.
Good morning. So, Saturday, 1st of June.
I've already told him that. Carry on. Carry on.
1st of June. Start of our epic trip.
It's the German guard dogs.
Obviously, don't like my presence outside the gate. Anyway, as I said, 1st of June, start of our epic trip to Normandy. And we're here in Ranville, one of the first, if not the first, village to be liberated by the invading forces, which is in this case the British 6th Airborne Division. Behind me here, where this dog is,
It's a fucking dog.
the British
There he is.
Airborne Division headquarters.
He's had enough.
Fantastic building, not far from Pegasus Bridge, which is about a mile in this direction, up this track. The village was occupied by obviously German forces. A garrison of about 50 men held the bridge, or bridges. The officer in charge, by the name of Schmidt, on the night he was here with his girlfriend, and he ended up racing off to the bridge with the girlfriend in the vehicle when he first knew about the invasion when it started, which was at 12:15 in the morning.
Okay, so I'm going to wind up for Joe there. We've upset the old guard dog who's come down to sort. It's not even a guard dog by the looks of it. Anyway, so Joe, who's our resident specialist, he's just given you the lowdown on where we are and what we are. So we're very, very excited because we've actually ended up in accommodation. There is where we're staying, and it's this fella took part in the battles in the early days. It's Colonel Fabien.
Rue de Colonel Fabien.
And he led the Free French, I believe, on the attack against the casino and defences at Ouistreham, which is just a couple of miles up the road from here. Anyway, so we're going to sign off now, and then we're off today to first of our visits to the American sector, and we're going to be visiting the National Park marsh area of Carentan. And we're going to be visiting Sainte-Mère-Église, Carentan, Utah Beach, and various cemeteries and other sites. But you'll see that later on when we arrive on site in about an hour or so's time. Okay, that's us.
Fuck! So, here we are. We arrived in Sainte-Mère-Église. Just read that, there we go, if you can read that. Sorry about the shaking of the hand. So yeah, so Sainte-Mère-Église, we've just driven up this road, got into the square. As you can imagine, it's very busy. So we've now come down and we're parking on the side of the road, and it's not far, 2 minutes we'll be in the centre. While we were coming in, we saw at least 12 C-130 Hercules flying past Sainte-Mère-Église, potentially going to drop paratroopers. We didn't see any out, but so we're going to have a walk up now and check out Sainte-Mère-Église. See you in a bit. It's okay. So here we are, Sainte-Mère-Église in the church square. This church, iconic in military history. As you can see, this is the famous bell tower where one of the 101st Airborne Division unfortunately landed and got hooked up by his parachute and stayed there all of the morning into the day until the Americans took Sainte-Mère-Église, and he was managed to be cut down. Subsequently, he was deaf in his ears due to the bells ringing out. But apart from that, he was pretty much unharmed. I don't know if you're aware that in the background there are the C-130 Hercules. I think I've actually just flown past, but they're doing circles of Sainte-Mère-Église in preparation for airdrops they're going to be doing throughout the day and the week ahead. So just have a pan round. As you can see, the main drag into Sainte-Mère-Église. Shops, most of the buildings are original, if not all of them. And there we go. This obviously is a car park now, but if you can imagine, this was an open square with similar trees. But as I say, in the morning of 6th of June, filled with Germans and civilians looking up at the white dots coming down from the sky. Obviously the paratroopers, 101st Airborne Division.
Bearing in mind this is only the 1st of June, not the 6th of June, you can see how busy it is here. These are obviously reenactors, but there's a whole line of Willys Jeeps, which are very, very commonplace in France and Belgium and Holland, and very popular with reenactors because they look the part and they're relatively small, light and easy to get about with. This is the closest shot. That's a mannequin that's hanging on the church tower. Obviously, it's not a reenactor. Joe's laughing in the background, but I'm just saying this represents the poor bugger that dropped and hung. It was an absolutely real situation. He was rescued by the Germans, believe it or not. He expected he was going to be shot. He was terrified, but they brought him down and just took him prisoner, gave him a cup of coffee and some biscuits, and sent him back to Germany. But was made famous, popularly famous, in the film The Longest Day, and the actor that played the part of him hanging in the church tower was an actor called Red Buttons. As you can see, these have got the D-Day markings on. Although they're modern aircraft, they're modern American transport aircraft. There's a whole air fleet of them. They're basically recreating the air transport for the paratroopers, which would have been Dakotas during the war. But today they're C-130s, which is obviously, there aren't enough Dakotas, and even if there were enough, they wouldn't necessarily be in terribly good serviceable condition. There's about a dozen or more of these going over, and I think and they would hold about 100, 120 men, which is not quite a company of men, but it's still a few platoons. But a Dakota would have only, in 1944, would have only held about a platoon of men. So, you know, these can carry about 4 times the capacity of the Dakota. This is an 88mm or 8.8 centimetre anti-aircraft gun of the Germans, but it was very highly renowned as an anti-tank weapon because of its massive velocity and high accuracy. The original weapon was developed during World War I as an anti-aircraft gun, but found it escaped the Treaty of Versailles. The Allies didn't realise what a fantastic weapon it was, and in my opinion it was the best anti-tank gun of World War II, bar none. It would be argued by British and Americans that they had other weapons that were better or equal to, but it wasn't surpassed by anybody. I think the 3 notches on the middle of the barrel are either later put on or they're originals, but they would be kills, unless anybody can tell me something different. Anyway, that's an 88mm. I'm not sure what mark this is. I could look that up and find out, but it's in a Kreuz Lafette, which is German for a cruciform mount. There are 2 arms missing, but this would be the anti-aircraft mount, which was used in the ground roll, and incredibly successfully so. So there you are, that's an 88mm or an 8.8cm. Okay, we're inside the part of the museum at Sainte-Mère-Église. That standing over us is C-47, which is the Dakota that I was speaking about earlier in the video. These are just mannequins, obviously, showing various equipment and so on of the Americans. And here are more mannequins showing equipment and what American paratroopers would have looked like dropping down. We go up, here's the overhead gear, the harness, not the harness, but the wires, and then Joey's now going to tell you a little bit about the coloured parachutes.
So yeah, coloured parachutes determine what was dropped. So the orange-red parachutes would be arms, weapons.
So supplies?
It's supplies, basically. So they
and
had
the white parachutes
ones,
presumably were personnel?
Personnel, communication ones, a whole list of different colours to represent what was getting dropped.
Right.
So if you wanted weapons dropped, then you knew that the red parachute was going to be weapons. So it was to determine whether or what was going to be dropped on the battlefield.
Okay. What about the one with the camouflage on it? Is that from the period, or is that just something someone stuck in later?
I think it was period.
Helmets. There's one there with what looks like a splinter entry on the side. A bee in my bonnet, if you'll excuse the pun, a bee in my bonnet is the use of the term shrapnel. Shrapnel is a round ball that's fired from a shell. There are hundreds of them in there, and they are anti-personnel weapons, specific. What people and even soldiers refer to as modern soldiers, not from the First World War, but what soldiers refer to as shrapnel isn't shrapnel, it's shell splinters, because if you were hit by shrapnel in the head, which people say is happened to relatives. Oh, my granddad was hit in the arm by a piece of shrapnel. There is no piece of shrapnel. Shrapnel is a round ball that's fired from a shrapnel shell. If people mean a shard of metal, then it's a bomb splinter or a shell splinter. So that, on the side of that helmet there, looks to me like it might be a splinter, although no, it's not. It's not round enough, but it could be a puncture by a metal object. It could be a spike of some sort or whatever, because it's a triangular damage. This is the overhead view. We're up in a gantry here of the C-47, so that's effectively it. It's got the D-Day markings, of course, and the men would sit, for those of you that don't know, along the edges here, waiting to exit. I think I already said with the flyover that these took about a platoon. They probably would have various equipment with them, but a lot of the heavier stuff that went in the first wave was brought by the glider-borne troops. Whether it were jeeps, small other vehicles, and certainly ammunition, mortars and heavy machine guns would have been brought in accompanying glider-borne troops, or gliders. with the glider-borne troops. Unfortunately, it's very, very dark for the camera, but what you can hear is the simulation of a C-47 engine which has come from the cockpit, and here's a stick of paratroopers waiting to drop. It's a great simulation because you're in effect inside the aircraft and you've got all of the lads who are going to be jumping out, and to probably the correct number, I would have thought here. This is the 82nd All-American. You won't be able to see the shoulder flash on this fella here, but that's what this is. So yeah, I'll just go back up the road here. You can see them. It's actually quite atmospheric because it's very, very dark, and it looks like it would have looked on the aircraft. So very, very good. There was a bit of slight bump, air turbulence. Oh, here we go again. And here's yet another simulation. It's really, really good because you're outside the aircraft. You can hardly see it actually. Yeah, it's a bit of an illumination there, and you can see that's the wing of the C-47. So, and while we're standing here, there's all wind blowing as well. It's a brilliant simulation at the museum. You can see the houses on the ground, and you can see the aircraft flying below. So it's a very, very good simulation. And here you can see, you can just about see paratroopers dropping. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But sadly, it's see all the explosions on the ground there. It's difficult, yeah, more explosions. Very, very difficult to see in terms of what we can see inside the museum. But anyway, really, really good. And what you see below there is actually a model of Sainte-Mère-Église, and right down in the centre is the church. If you look very carefully when in the explosions, you can see the church of Sainte-Mère-Église, but it's not easy to spot. The building in the centre of the picture is the church in Sainte-Mère-Église where the American paratrooper was caught in the spire. Red Buttons was the actor.
So, in the early hours of the 6th of June, a Winters of the 101st Airborne Division of Easy Company, American Airborne, landed in this field. Don't know the exact point.
You think it might be? It's somewhere over there.
Potentially, it's going to be in this area here.
Yeah.
When he jumped out of the aircraft, this wasn't his designated drop zone, but it was where he started anyway. He had a leg bag, which unfortunately, when he exited the aircraft, detached, ripped off, and blew away. He saw it though subsequently land just over the road in an adjacent field over there. When he landed in the field here, there was obviously a lot of machine gun and anti-aircraft fire going on. He wanted to collect his bag because it had all his equipment as well as his Browning automatic pistol. Unfortunately, where the bag landed, right next to a machine gun nest, which would have obviously ultimately killed him if he had attacked on his own. But as I said, early hours of the 6th of June, Captain Winters, who went on to be Major Winters in charge of the take command of Easy Company, he landed right here and started his war.
Can I ask you, you've obviously researched this, and you're absolutely certain that you've got the correct location from all of the authentic research that you've done?
Done as much authentic stuff. I also done the modern Google, and I'm pretty certain by other researchers and historians that this area, as I say, I can't say exactly, it could have been here where I stood, or in the corner over there.
But we're pretty certain it's within 20 yards or so of
20
this.
yards of this area.
Because you're never going to
Winters-
get. You're never going to get the,
not the exact mark.
you know, not like there's his boot marked. But
Maybe if he was still alive today, he might have recognised somewhere. But even him, being
well, he wouldn't. It was in the dark.
in the dark, he wouldn't have known
Okay.
exactly. But it was a lot different. There's obviously now a motorway in front of us. That wasn't there, obviously. There wasn't anything apart from this track here.
Yeah,
that
right.
house potentially was, but definitely MG nest there, and fields, and an orchard over there.
Yeah.
So,
So that orchard was here in 1944? Really? Oh, okay. Right, we're going to sign off on that one, and we're going to go in search of another dropping point for Captain Spears. If those of you who are devotees of Band of Brothers or know the story and so on, we're going to go and look for the drop point of Captain Spears.
So we're in the square in Sainte-Mère-Église again, and as you can hear the sound of the bells, this is what happened on June the 6th, early hours of the morning, and I suppose they played them for victory. And as you can see, the paratrooper, this is the reason and how he lost his hearing. If you can imagine thousands of paratroopers landing in and around this square, onto this very earth we stand on today. So here we are, coming up to the end of the day on the 1st of June, and we're here at Utah Beach. It's the first visit to Utah, and it's the first beach we visited as well. So I'm going to take some sand. I've got tubs for all the beaches. I'm going to take them back home to keep them for a memento. So
Okay.
here I go, I'm going to get some sand now.
Right, here we go. Joe's going to get his sand off the beach. So he's going down to the water's edge to get the sand. Right, he's collected the sand off Utah Beach. Just give you a shot up the beach. There's one way, and there it is. Show us. That's the sand off the Utah Beach, and that's up in the other direction, Utah, and those are the positions, well, not positions, but where the Americans had to assault up this beach. Here you are down in a depressed position, and above you are in fixed positions, protected, are your opponents, and they've got their heavy weapons, whereas you on the beach coming out of the landing craft initially haven't got any real heavy firepower support. Out there into the distance would be the Allied warships. I think there were 1,200 in the Armada, and they would have, obviously the large warships and the medium-sized ones would have been firing with guns from anywhere between 6-inch up to 18-inch guns, and battering the Germans. The smaller caliber would have been firing closer onto the shore, and the heavier caliber would have been firing inland to interdict, that's to say to disrupt and to block behind the German front, because in modern warfare particularly, that's a very important part of a battle phase. Okay, so there we are. This is, I don't know that we're finished this evening. It's now must be about 7:45 p.m. local time, French time. We've had an incredibly fulfilling day, and we've not finished yet. We're going to try and pack a bit more in, because obviously the sun hasn't set yet, nor is it going to get dark for another good couple of hours. So we're going to be off to, in a minute, we're going to visit some of the drop areas, the drop zones for the 101st Airborne. That's a target for us this evening, and also sand blown in your face. And then also what we're going to do, there's Ken and there's Joe in conversation over the day's events. They've both had a fantastic time. We've all had a fantastic time. And then after the couple of drop zones which I hope to pick up, we're going to do Wonderhog, which is where the US Rangers landed. We've actually been given Rangers badges by current day shoulder flashes by current day Rangers, which is quite exciting for Joe and Ken. And then we're hoping, I don't think we're going to do it this evening, we may have to do that on our return tomorrow to the region. We're hoping to go to Omaha Beach, but to be realistic, I think that's going to be a tall order this evening because we've not even eaten yet. So for now we're going to say goodbye for the moment, and if there's more to show this evening we'll get it, and it'll be on here. Okay.
So we're just off the beach now, Utah Beach. It's the first beach we visited on day one of our trip. In the background there, I'll zoom in, is the monument on Utah Beach. It's incredible. Even though it is just a beach, like any other beach in the UK, it's a special place. As I said on the beach, hallowed turf, where many men gave their lives. As I say, all gave some and some gave all. And the some gave all on this beach. And unfortunately many more moving inland. So over in that direction is Carentan and Sainte-Mère-Église, where the 101st 82nd Airborne Divisions and Glider Divisions landed to support the men coming off the beach.
This little monument means something to me personally, because there we are. That's my dog, Uncle Red. Redmond, you've been remembered. We love you forever. Good night, Redmond. Okay, this is a monument to the fallen of the E Company of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, the 101st Airborne Division. And for those that don't know, that E Company is much better known as Easy Company from Band of Brothers. Joe has just laid a little, this little one here. That's the little cross that Joe laid here on the monument. It's been an ambition of his to do this because it's something that's moved him for a very long time. And in this area there was fighting. We're going to go up to a place up a little road, little lane there, to a place called Brécourt Manor, which is shown in the TV drama Band of Brothers, where there was an assault on a gun position by Easy Company, to silence a German artillery battery that was firing on the beaches on Utah Beach, where we were just now. So that's where we're off to. Field here would have seen some action, and apparently we understand from some knowledgeable Americans that there were German tanks over in that tree line over there, and there was fighting here as well. So everywhere you go here is a battlefield, and most of the men that are shown here fell on the 6th of June, which was D-Day itself. Some fell a few days later, or in one case a couple of weeks after. We were off to Brécourt Manor. Okay, this is Brécourt Manor, as I understand it, from Joe, down the road there filming, and this was the objective, the target of the operation, to eliminate the German battery that was stationed in the vicinity. We don't know exactly where. This is the end of the building, and that's the sort of the yard of the manor. I believe the garrison, not necessarily of this manor, but the garrison of the troops that manned the battery that was stationed, it was firing onto Omaha Beach, and my hunch is that it would have been located somewhere this side of the road, behind this clump of trees, or even amongst the trees. But anyway, we don't know. There will be someone somewhere that knows exactly where this battery was located. Unfortunately, it's private land. We can't go on, we can't explore. I don't blame the people. They must get fed up with people coming round and trying to bunk into their property. But anyway, we're here. It's got a huge atmosphere to it because, of course, men fought and died here. This was a very important action for the troops on Utah Beach, because it relieved the pressure on those troops, because the battery that was here, somewhere in this vicinity, there was a battery. In the drama series, Band of Brothers, the battery is classified as a battery of 88mm German guns, but our hunch is that they were actually field howitzers, 10.5 centimetre, which is more likely. They could have been 15 centimetre, which is in Imperial 6-inch guns, but I guess from the distance where we've driven to here, it would be well within the range of 10.5 centimetre, which is 105mm gun howitzers, which the Germans was a standard German field howitzer, field support howitzer. So anyway, that's Brécourt Manor. We've decided that we're going to draw a veil over events today. It's now around about 8:40 p.m. It's a beautiful evening. We're going to try and find some food, and we'll plan tomorrow this evening, and we're going to sign off for now and continue our journey tomorrow.